So, salutations, dear viewers, run with NeX into the Vast Nexus, and this is going to be a whole game in a single video. I usually reserve that for Flash titles, when applicable. But this is Playdead's Inside, and we are in a 2D field moving to the right. Like the classic platformers of my youth. Granted, this is an actual 3D environment, with gorgeous, by the way, art design, just like Limbo. Which I recorded this before I recorded Limbo, because I wanted to get, like, all the secrets in the run, and I'm more familiar with the secrets in this game than I am with Limbo, because I'm just not familiar with... The secrets in Limbo are a little more obscure, they're harder to find. Not so bad in this game. Now, there's a fair amount of environmental storytelling here. You can tell already that the humans are potentially a threat, because notice, my character here, we'll just call them the child, has hunkered down like they're hiding. That's not me, that's just them. There's people moving around over there, there's pods, things linked to trees. Now, none of this makes a whole lot of sense now, but it'll start making a bit more sense in the future. Because this game has basically no dialogue, there's no writing, no thing, and yet it still creates a story. It doesn't answer any questions definitively. And again, we're hiding. Yes, run out when that flashlight's on you, and you will be murdered. I'm going to try to keep this run as deathless as possible. I'm not going to consider it, like, an imperative, because sometimes I just botch jumps. That's just the reality of the situation. I just screw up a jump and then just die. Oops. But I will be getting all of the collectibles. So, bit of a walkthrough. Bit of one. And yeah, lots of implications not to reveal yourself. If you weren't paying attention to your own player character, then that's really on you. And here we have our first time where we can't actually hide. So, light's gonna find us. There it is. About halfway through the water. They sick the dogs on us. And run. Because dog will just straight up maul you. Thing is, though, now they know we're out here. They're on to us. So, we gotta keep our wits about us. Because that's the thing. This is another bit of storytelling, that they are actively malevolent, because they're not just happening upon us and then trying to deal with us. They are actively hunting us now that they know that we're here. And we got this bit. You watch how the boy speeds up right here. And dart underneath. Just in time to avoid the searchlight. You might think, how is he supposed to get to you if he's over on that bridge or whatever? Yeah, no, he just shoots you. He just guns you down. And again, we have another moment where we can't avoid being detected because of the headlights. Now here, the thing that'll get you is actually toe jams. Do not stumble on these logs. Because then the boy falls over and the guys catch up to you. Don't run out in those headlights. He will gun you down. And the dogs again. Third hurdle. Dogs are completely unencumbered by it, but... Now, note that they have placed something to help ease you towards the secret collectibles. Note this orange yellowish wire running through the water here. These are placed wherever one of those collectibles is, and there it is, glowing brightly for us to grab. So, and over. Subtle. And we pull the plug. That's one of 13. They all have names, too, based on their achievements. I think that one was like Murky Waters. I don't remember all the names, so don't expect me to call them out directly. I will get them all, though. Okay, so obviously if they got a big searchlight and a gun, which if you haven't played this before and you've died already, you'll have found that out the hard way. Let's not make ourselves easy to see. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how many times the boy will, or the child will retch for air. I'm assuming it's a boy, but we don't know. I'm not entirely sure how many times the child will retch for air before he legit drowns, but don't push your luck, basically, obviously. Like, again, the detail threshold in the environment in terms of, like, texturing is low. But that's not the point. I mean, the grass, the gloomy coloration, the little hints here and there of something far grander going on. This is one of the more insidious secrets, and it's also one of the most important. But this is the one that has no real wire to cue you in that it's here. So if you look very closely, you'll just be able to make out a handle to a lid here. Honestly, the only thing that indicates that there's anything here is the gap in the foliage. There's a door here, with a weird 3-position lever switch. I know the code to it, but we don't yet. You know, character-wise. We will come back here later, because the thing that you need to do in there can only be done once all the other collectibles are complete. And we have another one. Yank it. Yes, this one is of particular importance. Like I said, of course, they put it in the one that's most insidiously hidden. Now, there's an indicator at the end as to which ones you've gotten and which ones you've missed, and they're indicated linearly in terms of position, so you're missing that. You can sort of suss it out if you find the two bracketing it, because you'll know instinctively that it's between those two, and you'll be extra vigilant trying to find it. So it's not like, to some extent, the absence of information, what you're looking for can be inferred by the information around it. But again, you have to be paying attention for it. Or, you know, do the modern thing and read a guide on the internet. I found most of these without resorting to that, just by poking around the environment. I've played this a few times. The child has good form climbing rope. I mean, you're mainly supposed to use your legs. That whole thing about, like, pulling yourself up on your arms, that is the wrong, incorrect way to climb a rope. Open the door, because we need the... I assume they're chicks. I assume. Give the ripcord an old yank. So head to the wall, because we need the chicks to follow us. And they also won't get right up on us unless we're stationary. There's a little straggler. And we run forward. Shoom. And we only killed one of them. Considering we need this hay bale, I'm going to call that a win. So you can tell that this is like a ruined structure, dilapidated. I mean, most of the pigs that we've encountered are dead. You can already tell that, like, something is off in this world. And here's our Assassin's Creed moment. Now, I neglected to pause to show all of you, but yes, there was a yellow wire on the roof of that barn that we just jumped off of. And that connects to this sucker, which is one of the ones I didn't find, because, again, I usually just made the jump, never actually noticed the wire. This place actually has a bunch of live pigs. Granted, they all look emaciated, which suggests that they're abandoned, neglected. Given some of the weirder stuff that we'll see later, I'm not surprised. And that's another yoink. 3 down. I mean, if you have a wagon full of dead pigs and they're not dead as slaughter for food, that's a bad thing. Not to mention, if you notice carefully, there be worms undulating out of these pig bodies. That can't be good. And more worms in... Note that that's a mound, too, so that's either pig dung, that's either feculence, or that's a food pile. So either the worms are in whatever they're eating, or the worms are in whatever they're secreting, which, given the worms are in the pigs, is probably in whatever they're secreting, so something nasty is happening to livestock here. Because note as well, we see chicks, we don't see chickens. I mean, there are some diseases which can pass paternally, or I suppose it'd be maternally, among animals and so forth, where basically the young are less affected. This is a Toro moment. You can just jump without turning to face the pig, but it kind of staggers you. It's better to face the pig as you jump, then you kind of race over it. Just don't end up under the pig, because that will kill you. Grab the worm. If you've played Limbo, or watched my Limbo video, I'm assuming it's coming out before this one, those worms, at least, will seem familiar. I mean, you can see the pig's spine, its abdomen is concave. These are clearly not healthy animals. And now we have the first bit of weirdness. These people that move, they do what I do, literally, when I have my head in a helmet. Why do they do this? Don't know. But again, aspects of this will become clearer later. So we need a ramp, and... Now, a key point is to note what happens to them when I detach. They literally, like, drop into a standby mode or something. Like automatons. There's nothing that way. Just trying to remember where number 4 was. Some of them I remember better than others. The child is also quite strong. I imagine that was not a light pole. And of course we have a bit of environmental progression, so time is meant to have passed, the rain is meant to have stopped. Granted, this back setting, this environment is stylized the way it is based on our location, not on an actual time system. But yes, we can tell the rain has stopped because the sun is peeking out, but there's still heavy clouds in the sky. And over there, the head drooping clearly indicates that those are like the other guys that we just controlled. And that truck looks familiar as well. Now here your instinct might be to pull this towards the chain, but you discover quickly that it doesn't work. You gotta do the opposite of what you intend. Push it towards the spool, drop the chain down low enough to physically grapple it. I find swinging on chains in this game realistically doesn't work. The chain has a fair amount of, like, weight, so it really resists swinging. Alley-oop. The safe, perched precariously over a bunch of wooden planks. Oh, and note in the background there, more of that environmental storytelling. Some of those pods, like we saw in the woods, that were hooked up to the trees, or at least it looked like they were hooked up to the trees. This thing, we gotta push it all the way around. Lift it up. But I find if you let it down a little bit, it makes mantling onto it easier. Now this is a real Looney Tunes moment that you don't want to get caught in this game. And jump at the last second, because it is impossible to get it off the ledge without being so far back that the paneling tries to get you there. But you'll find out the hard way if you don't do it the first time. Now we got another secret coming up. This one, again, is pretty obvious in terms of its positioning, because A, the wire is right there, in front and behind you, and there's a grate that it's running back into. That's another yoink. This game is... The reason this game is being put into one video, it is short. It's not extensively short. I still anticipate this easily hitting an hour, if not an hour and a half. But divvying that up into multiple videos seems a little bit redundant. So, gotta open the door, then latch ourselves into the helmet. Now, these guys are weirdly transpositioned where they move in opposing directions, but the purpose of this puzzle is we have to get each of them on one of those platforms, and beneficially, the garage door and the opposing wall are at the perfect distance that the two of them, if we move them together, are now where we need them. So we can assess that those masses of people that we saw in a line are being controlled by something. Something like those helmets, because whenever we plug into those helmets, we can manipulate groups of those people, but we still don't understand why are they hunting this child, and why is he able to control this stuff? Is there a special quality to him? But again, we're still early on in this game. There's 13 secrets, we've only found 4. So we're not even halfway through yet. Jump. There's another one. Now here's where we learn the code to that door before. Let me unplug this first. So this thing is clumsily and eerily beating out, or what, at like 3 different notes. Now, the lever had corresponding directions. We don't know, per se, which notes correspond to which direction, but it's only 3, which means that basically you assign a note to a direction, you try it, and then you see how it goes. As for the sequencing of it, I imagine that the pattern is accepted as long as it's correct. So basically that's something that whoever figured it out probably deduced empirically. Yeah, that's the code to the door back there, but it doesn't matter at the moment, because without having found all the collectibles, there's nothing to... Oh, it looked like he was about to slide. I didn't notice that before. Best to move... Ooh. Yep, I'm not paying that much attention, because I'm trying to keep the commentary up more than usual. It's like, I've been watching, Doom, not on YouTube, actually, but as because I have to cut bits of it out. These guys have no awareness that we're here. But yeah, so I've been rewatching my stuff and I realized that, like, I'm enjoying the game so much I'm not talking, which is bad form for a Let's Play. Now, I do enjoy this game, I'm enjoying it right now, but I want to make sure that I, you know, talk as one does in an LP. So, okay, these things creep me out in particular, not because they look like robot heads, but because I had a nightmare when I was young of of being like in a clearing, like a wood, and there being a searchlight, and basically if the searchlight saw you, and of course I saw this happen to some rando in front of me to maximize the terror, like a horror movie playing in my head. If the searchlight caught you, like a spear was fired out from the sky, impaled you, and then like exploded. Now, there's no spear, and there's no explosion, but if you get caught in these lights, they will murder you. Yeah, that guy you might not have noticed on the floor until the light was on him, he didn't twitch because he's alive. He twitched because these things shoot tasers into you. If you pay close attention, you notice the coils running on the floor from the devices. So yes, those searchlights are bad. If you don't want to get tased, bro, don't go in the light. Thing is, we've already had the notion that a searchlight is bad ingrained in us in this game because the flashlights and the headlamps from the people earlier. Again, the environment is hinting at what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. Speaking of lights and bad, act like you belong. So here, you can't deviate too far from the center, and you can't adjust yourself either. If you turn around, you're breaking the sequence. You will get tased by that camera, and it will drag you away. You don't, however, have to exactly synchronize your movement, because this would be impossible if that were the case. Now, once we're in, do as they do, once we're in the yellow. A little early. We didn't get tased, though. Again, act like we belong. I find it amazing the intelligent humans haven't noticed that something's a little weird about the situation. Now, just because we leave the room with this thing, don't assume for a second it's not still got its light on you, because you'll still see the shadow and the beam cast into the next room. So, yeah, this thing's really got it out for you, the child. And we've been made. Cheese it. And that's a death. Overdid the jump a little bit. There, that's what was supposed to happen. Now do yourself a favor here. Wait down here, let the dog get close, and then bail. Now he's got to run back up the ramp, and that gives you time. Yes, the air steps are hilarious. I find that quite amusing. So we need to put it here because we can't get back up to it otherwise, since we need this box for other purposes. Like I said, I wasn't aiming for a deathless. Well, I was going for it, but if it didn't work out, that was fine too. There you go. It didn't work out. I said it would be a jump, didn't I? Now here comes a weird daisy chain of control. Now the trouble is, they do as we do. And what we ultimately have to do is disconnect from this guy here that we're now manipulating, so that he'll stay there and not follow us. The problem is, to get the guy that we're controlling, that's controlling the other guy to disconnect, we have to disconnect ourselves, because they do as we do, which is why we need to be perched on the diving board, so we don't plummet to our deaths. Then we can recontrol the first guy, he's disconnected, second guy will stay where he is, and we can continue. The basic puzzle. I do know that there's probably a fair share of people who'd rack their brain over it, though. This is a cheap thing that usually kills me, because you sort of think to go for the middle of the square. Don't do that. Go for the near edge, because what happens is the time it takes for you to detach from this guy, that door is going to try slamming shut on you. So you can see right there, if I was in the middle, that would have murked me. That would have been me dead. So, that's the first 5 secrets cleared. We need to dislodge this thing. And around, and... Nope. Yep, nope. Come on. Grab the crate. There we go. And the child is also apparently a superhuman swimmer, because that is a lot of mass to be pushing through. Not hydrodynamic mass either, to be pushing through just with some little feet kicks. That's kind of ridiculous. I'm starting to wonder if this is an Aqualad. Now, this is not a normal water manipulation, because the sheer volume that would be moving in order for this to happen would require ungodly amounts of, like, pump force and power. You're talking tons and tons of moving water. But the water shenanigans will get wackier. Water's a major theme in the... Oh. Don't have to worry about it in here, but the, you know, ear-splitting ring wasn't a cue that that was bad news. More searchlights. I could let myself get killed by one of them just to demonstrate how they work. I mean, the deathless thing has already gone, you know, not happening. Well, it's a bit brutal, so I'm not. A missed jump is just, a broken spine and some legs, but getting tased and then hauled away... Besides, it might happen accidentally at some point, just if I'm careless. That's clearly a train terminal. There's the light. And it's paced in such a way that, assuming you're just running forward, you will reach a point where you can see this shadow before you're actually here. Don't try getting this all in one go. It has been specifically configured so that that is not possible. And if you didn't notice it, that train back there is full of the zombie people. These sort of mindless husk, whatever. People make the point, well, if they're not undead, they're not zombies. That's not technically correct. Technically, zombies relate to, like, Oh, yep. See, that's what happens. Hazed and dragged off as a ragdoll. I overcooked it a little bit. Well, I was expecting it to, go there, stop, and then go back across. It loiters there for longer than I was expecting. Uh. Eh. Oh yeah, that's right. I expected it to go further because, yeah, there's a second one that goes right over the thing that we need to go into. And it gives us just enough time to pry it open. Okay, well, I guess I'm just between them now. I hit the button at the prescribed location. I don't know why he didn't grab the hatchlet. There we go. There, we demonstrated the kind of horrific tase and drag. Generally, if they put a chain for you to grab onto, don't just dive into the hole. Because chances are the chain, from a game design perspective, is there for a reason. Like, so that you don't just, dive into a hole. So, sand, crash trains, sand encrusting, this is clearly a ruined world. That point has been shown immediately. Now, we have dogs, but I suspect these aren't the trained attack dogs we dealt with earlier. These are more like wild dogs, and they're clearly feeding on something. But they also look emaciated, which means that they're probably also hungry. And the child is meal-sized. This one might stump you for a while until you realize that you have to double back. So dog comes after you. Don't try running for it. Head back in the water. Dog will pursue, and if he catches you in the water, he'll maul you just like he would on dry land, but... Yes, he won't dive. He'll just, well, doggy paddle. What do you expect? Yes, the time for him to get out of the water gives you just enough time to bail. Unfortunately, there's more of them. And here we're pulling the Mr. X around the table gag. For emaciated and hungry wild dogs, they do seem to have no trouble making that run over and over and over and over again without tire. Now that noise we're hearing in the background it's not a sound effect, I don't think, relating to the creatures or their approach. It's actually an environmental effect that just happens to be, synchronized with the dogs going back and forth. After 3, we're good, and the child wisely blocks the door behind him. And now we come to a fun little section. Again, though, people. Because you might think, because these aren't like the spooky mask-wearing guys in the black suits, that nothing to worry about. Oh no, they'll still strangle you to death, because that's what they do. And I've died twice in a run that I was hoping not to die once, so no, I'm not going to demonstrate that. Again, it might happen on accident if I'm careless. But that's a nice little submarine bubble. I don't think they'll mind if I take it. And we're about to see precisely how this world might have come to ruin. So you might think that, oh, well, we just went into the ocean. Well, yes, perhaps, but this is a flooded human habitat. Aside from the huge pipes, which you might argue, well, maybe that's just something feeding into the ocean like deep ocean cables. Note this wall to my left is smooth. That's not a natural formation. That's man-made, which means that this whole flooded area, it contains stuff that was probably built by someone. Humanity being what I'm working at. So it's a ruined world that was, at least evidently, ruined in some great cataclysm, a great flood. Judging by the depth of this, I'd say it's probably arguable there was a flood of biblical proportions. Trying to suss out where our exit is. There's one tricky secret in the submarine section that I'm going to have to keep an eye out for. Don't mind me if I take my time here for a little bit. Right now I'm just looking for the way out. There we go. It's hard to get more obvious than that. And launch. The good thing this bathysphere looking thing is durable. Of course, a question that I would ask is, you know, it's durable here, but yet one of the water babies can just smash it. It's just a wall. And again, yes, there's a whole backdrop there, but we are moving in a two-dimensional plane, so... And again, we're in a building. It's tilted, but that's a screen, I think? I mean, it's flickering. Beams, like, stuff in the background. This is something that was made by people, and yet it's underwater. So, yeah, cataclysm, definitely. Something water-related bad happened here. We will be getting back to our submarine, but first we need to find a way of opening that door. Yeah, again, all these pages, basically office supplies. The flooded world. And that is a tree on the other side of that glass, but it's underwater. This one will, I almost guarantee you, kill you the first time. Those containers, again, look very similar to what we saw in the forest, hooked up to the trees. Actually, is that tree underwater? Because if we see it up here, and this area is above water, that might just be a tree. Yeah, no, it's just a tree. It's the glass that's making it look like it's underwater. Which leads us here, again, more pods. More weird things plugging the pods into the trees. And this is all underground for some reason. Well, why is that? I mean, one would imagine... it's just a wall leading knows where. But that's the thing, remember that we had like a big ocean of flooded whatever down there, so unless that's some sort of genuinely massive cavern, this habitat where we see these trees must have been built artificially on the water. Like it's a floating platform or built on something that protruded from the water, like the buildings below, like this ruin of a building that we're running across. There's also the notion that the trees might be artificial. I mean, they're hooked up to pods. They, like, pass through the ceiling, question mark? So I believe this is the door. There's water below, so we can just dive in. Now that's a jump scare that kind of works, because you are not expecting it in the slightest, because you've never seen anything like that before. And they put it in the foreground, in the camera, basically in your face, the moment it happens. Actually got a twitch, like a jitter out of me, and again, I have played this before, even recently, but it was just like, movement right in your face. Again, there's like a whole staircase here. This was a building. I mean, I suppose it still is a building, it's just a ruined building. Ah, there's the hint we're looking for. We got a wire again. Just need to give this a unfriendly tap. So here is another daisy chain situation. First, we want to put him on the sub, about center. Well, that proves difficult at times. So line him up with that. He plugs in on his own for some reason, but he's not under our control anymore. That's easy enough to fix. And now yoink. Wonderful. Note, too, that pulling that plug has disconnected the control system. The helmets aren't glowing anymore. We can't control them. So now we already have an association. Those spheres, those balls, are somehow linked to the control helmets, and the control helmets are manipulating the sort of zombie people, the drones. Lots of little hints as to, like, what is happening, but it's not spoken. Environmental storytelling, and it's a sort of storytelling that lets you fill in some gaps for yourself, like, you know, figure it out. Not choose your own adventure, but it is kind of, you know, what does this story say to you? I mean, we can infer that there was some kind of disaster, because there's evidence of civilization, but it's all ruined. We can similarly infer that it was likely some water-related catastrophe because of all the sunken infrastructure, and some of the stuff later on, which indicates a profound interest in water. Honestly, the drone people are the thing that's not entirely explained, but there's some evidence that could support certain theories, perhaps more than others. Yeah, the sub can't make that trip once we lower the water, which is why I parked it over there first. But we need the water lowered so that we can get through there. That's a drown. Oh, no, I was supposed to stay with the sub for that one. Yeah, we need to lower the water to open the door, but we need to then be in the sub to... You'll see what I was confusing it for. There's a thing later on where we have to, like, get out of the sub and adjust the water level or something. Or my brain's just kind of misappropriating two separate puzzles and putting them together. And again, at the push of a button, this massive, massive quantity of water moves around. Sure. How, though? Yeah, that's what we're supposed to do. Yeah, had I lived long enough to see this, I would have known right away. So... the water babies. These things will try to kill you. Key point, don't leave the light off them for too long. They seem spooked by that, and of course you might wonder why they spooked by the light. Well, the light has killed us once already. Light in this world is a bit of a fickle mistress. Warm it up, and you're not coming in here. Bye. Now, the reason you have to slam that shut is that when you ram something, your light flickers. That provides the gap necessary for them to do what they need to do, and you need to hit this multiple times. So if you try to skip a step, you will be punished for it. So now we're in some more open waters. Now here's where some of these challenges you can potentially lock yourself out of them. It is possible to actually beach this craft. It requires some effort, so you'd have to be trying to do it deliberately, but if you did beach it, you won't be able to reach this next area. Now, it doesn't seem like there's anything here, but we still have our launch function. Now, I'm not sure if that's an area that's supposed to be underwater or part of the artificial environment. Well, there's a tree, and it's going through the glass. I don't know, one of the beautiful aspects of the art design in this game is that it really makes you feel small. You feel like an ant or a mouse crawling around some very large, imposing, and even just outright threatening machine. I mean, this wasn't, I don't think, aspiring to be a horror game, but yet it does actually give you kind of a unsettling, even scary at times experience, like that jump scare we had, and the creepy water babies that will try to drown you, including in your sub. They will smash the window and drag you into the water. Which is why I don't understand how this thing can ram metal doors and wooden barricades, and yet the water children can just brick it. But yeah, if you warm up here and launch yourself out, you can beach yourself, and then you ain't going anywhere. But we are done with that submarine, so we can move on. This is one of my favorite sections of the game, just because it's such a cool concept. My theory for this is reactor. Some kind of reactor. You might be thinking, oh, well, radiation is going to be the hazard. Not quite. We'll get there. This is another, like, oh shit moment. Now that gate behind us can be lifted, but not by ourselves. Now, I've reduced my usual sound reduction for this game because it's fairly quiet. If you listen carefully, you can hear a regular beat in the distance, a pulse. Here, that's just a sort of foretelling of the environment, but it's going to become really important once we're done with this set of puzzles. Here, you don't just hear it. You feel it. So, power on. So, right here you can tell that this thing wants 19 people standing on it. Well, there's already one standing on it, so it wants 20. Now, if memory serves, go down first, because clearly we need to recruit more of the zombie people, the drones. And we need a helmet for that, because we don't have one. Yeah, this was the swimming section that I mistook the other one for. They're in two completely different areas. And that doesn't look entirely climbable, but it must be because, how else are you supposed to get up here? Now remember, when momentum swinging, you cannot accelerate swinging speed, only adjust the momentum. There we go. You have to change your center of gravity with the swing. So you figure you're just going to plug your head in there and manipulate them, but this one detaches, and you're saved because they catch you, which again is a little gameplay way of telling you that that's a thing that can happen. So long as these guys are down below, you can survive otherwise fatal drops. And the thing is, if they can help you down, why not help you up? Now the helmet isn't so much causing them to mime out your movements, so much as it's transmitting your intentions. Question mark, because they're no longer just sort of doing what you do, they're trying to sort of comply with the spirit of what you're trying to accomplish, even if it is only in an extremely basic way. Okay, right, I remember this. If you notice, the kid's actually got one hand, or the child, he's actually got one hand on the helmet. Except here. Probably because they just used the same basic animation for pulling, so they didn't adjust it for one hand to still be on the helmet. Because, yeah, the helmet... Well, okay, so when he plugs into it, normally, there's no strap or anything, and yet he stays sort of magnetized to it, but here... Here, yeah, you could see how it might fall off, because it's probably heavy. I mean, that might be why he's holding on to it in the first place, because... Yeah, now here, they're pushing it because they're trying to get to where I am, but moving in this direction forces them to push the cart, which in turn delivers me over here. Now we got another secret through this paneling. But we can't rip it open ourselves. We'll need some help, which is fine, because we're here for more recruiting. We gotta get 20 people. I mean, it's including ourselves, but we need 20 people to open that gate. There's also a kind of disturbing implication when you find out what's on the other side of that gate. So, crate, pull off of magic fun block. That gives it just enough height for us to reach the latch on that pod. So now we see that there are people in the pods. Are they put in there to somehow service the environment, or is the environment somehow servicing them? Now we have an implication that these people might be pod people. They might be synthetic in some way. So with their help... Now this is probably the most hazardous of the secrets to acquire. Because there is an active threat. Here's again, do not take this torch through the water. Because once it's out, you ain't relighting it, and you're going to need it not to die. So make like it's, what was it, Cenobia, Celosia, and Shadow of the Colossus, and spook the doggos off with the torch. Yeah, don't turn your back on either the ones in front or behind for too long, and push in on them a bit, but not too aggressively. And pull it. I also find it interesting that when you disconnect that, they just sort of lose interest. I mean, maybe that was a game design decision because the hard part should be getting to the collectible, not, you know, getting back from the collectible. But at the same time, it does create implications about perhaps the dogs are also being manipulated by those devices in some way, or perhaps the device itself, the frequency it emits, somehow agitates them. I mean, we assume it's emitting a frequency. A lot of assumptions we have to make. Like I said, in terms of the story of this game, you're kind of encouraged to fill in the blanks on your own. I don't think we need that thing anymore. It has fulfilled its purpose. This reminds me of, what was it, Pikmin? You know, got a horde of followers, except there you were the big guy. Just like an industrial elevator to have no sound. Now, unlike some of the guys we encounter later, these guys also won't walk themselves right off of a ledge. Thankfully, because you'd be stuck if they did. They'll just wait patiently there for you to return. Windows are cracked. This guy can't follow us, he's dead. But a body is a body. So we're just gonna get him where we need him. And then rejoin the horde. Again, we couldn't move this without help. Only one way to get them out. Let's hope these pod people are durable. The group is still a little small. I'd say we got 10 people, probably. Yeah, about. Actually, it looks more like 8. There's another 3 to add to it, though. They survived! Not that it was particularly necessary. We have enough people to drag them to the next thing if we needed to. Another one through here, but there's also... Again, we need the help to get that open. To reach that, we need a boost. This one I hate. Switch it up too early, they don't get enough momentum to get over the thing. Now, I think that red light arch is supposed to be your... switch it back before they pass through here, because anytime they're past that point, they ain't gonna make the end of the track. And that's 4 more bodies. So by my reckoning, we're up to about 15-ish. There was 3 at the objective point, plus the corpse, and then the child. So, yep, we should have our 20. I mean, it should also be telling that we've explored all of this area that can be explored. So, of course, we have our 20. Either that or the game would be designed to soft lock you. And the music's playing when you're approaching with a full selection. So we know that we're on the right track. Beautiful track, too. More people there.